following is a paid program and does not necessarily express the views or opinions of Equity Media, its management, staff, or affiliates of WBOK 1230.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Dr. Clark's 101, the Living Classroom. Today we're going to talk about Take Back the Night 101. This is an issue which is so important to all of us, and it's very, very important. And I have in the studio with me today, I have Dr. Eartha Johnson and Dr. Don Williams. Both individuals are administrators and professors from Dillard University here in the city of New Orleans. And greetings and welcome, my friends. How you doing?
Oh, good afternoon, Dr.
Great.
Clark.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
Thanks
yes.
for
Yes.
having us.
Oh yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
great colleagues and fun colleagues and you've been on the program on numerous occasions, and it tends to be now, I guess we're going into our 6th or 7th year. You all coming on the program, if not longer, to talk about Take Back the Night and other issues which are important. But before we begin, I would want you to tell us again about your capabilities, what you do at the university, and then we go and talk about some Take Back the Night. First with you, Dr. Johnson. Yes.
Hello to everyone who's listening. My name is Eartha Johnson. I'm on my journey at Dillard University for well over 35 years now. I've held several capacities. I've been assistant provost for the Office of Academic Affairs and currently serve as the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, as well as a special assistant to the Office of Academic Affairs. I've been on this journey a long time. I'm associate professor of psychology and in Take Back the Movement for well over 30 years now.
Oh, my goodness. And so you have a good institutional and historical reference in terms of not only the university, but Take Back the Night and its importance. And yes, Dr. Williams, tell us about your responsibilities and obligations at the university.
I'm Dawn Williams. I have held several positions at the university also. I've been a vice president, student success. I've been director of career services. Presently, I serve as academic counselor in the Educational Talent Search Program and adjunct professor and internship coordinator for public health, because I've worked in public health prior to coming to Dillard for a number of years.
Oh, yes. And so what I like about you all, what you bring to the table and bring to the program of activities is that you have a diverse mix in terms of not only your professional background, but also in terms of your personal activities. And Dr. Johnson, will you just put in historical context for us, please, the nature of Take Back the Night and why it is so important to all of us and why we should put this on our calendar?
Take Back the Night originally started around in the 1700s, 1800s, relative to what was going on at that time in England with regards to a young woman having been accosted and at night. And the concern is whether or not you would be able to walk the streets at night. So there was a relatively uprising that took place, and the women took to the streets, eventually joined by men. It has now catapulted into something that is an international event, as we've looked at the number of sexual assaults and violent crimes against not only women, but men as well, who have joined in terms of trying to make sure that we can make a difference and let our voices be heard at least this one time of the year. It's affiliated with Domestic Violence Awareness Month in our area of New Orleans, but there are also celebrants in terms of going to the streets and hearing the voices heard in April, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Yes, and please for us as well, Dr. Williams, talk to us about your affiliation with the organization and the activities.
I've been involved with Take Back the Night for at least the last 15 years that I've been at the university. And I always go back to my alma mater. That's where we always start. And we incorporate all the other universities and students to really have our voices heard so people can know that this is really an issue and it still is happening in terms of domestic violence and sexual assault.
Now, you say your alma mater. You just can't just throw your alma mater out there. You have to let us know.
Loyola University.
No, okay, yes, of New Orleans.
Of New Orleans.
We have to let individuals know we have to represent, do we not?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Okay, and I know from my perspective, you all have been involved in this for over a decade, for quite some time. But the evolution of Take Back the Night at Dillard University and in the city, yes.
We started off, Dr. Clark, with a grant that we received from the Department of Justice. We were partners with Loyola University as well as Xavier University. And it's so interesting we're on this campus right now. Thank you, Xavier. And our colleague, Dr. Lana Chambliss, worked as a counselor previously for Loyola University, which became, I guess, my impetus for involvement when the grant was funded. And then from there, it catapulted. And give me 30 seconds to say that it's because of you and your expertise, your willingness, your cooperative spirit that has driven us with Take Back the Night through the years in terms of your support, in terms of you bringing a voice to those victims and those survivors who have been voiceless. You have been the catapulting source for us at Dillard to help us propel this mission forward. And we want to thank you for everything that you have done, everything you continue to do, because your unwavering support has been an undergirding source for inspiration. Thank you, Dr. Clark,
Thank
for
you.
all
Thank you.
that you have
You're the
done.
one. Both of you are the ones.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I appreciate those kind words, because this is something I think that all of us should be involved in. And your view of the evolution of Take Back the Night, Dr. Williams, yes.
Because I'm a public health
Okay.
person, I look at how it has evolved over the years. It has become a public health issue because a lot of times survivors were voiceless of what domestic violence, so what happened to them or whatever. And it's just not domestic violence. It's crisis support services, sexual assault. But what has happened using Take Back the Night, we have been able to include so many more people, and we have our voices out there so people can hear that this is still an issue. Just because we put things in place does not necessarily mean that it's gone away. It is still an issue.
Now, you mentioned something survivors. Characterize survivors for us.
Survivors are people who have been assaulted or who have had an experience, I'll say it like that, and they go unnoticed. They go untreated. They have no voice. Now, with Take Back the Night, we encourage them to let your voices be heard, seek services, and seek counseling, and deal with what has happened to you.
Well, I know this has always been a process, and I don't want to say rituals, but there are certain processes and ceremony that's involved in the Take Back the Night weekend and week. And I always thought that the most moving one is when they will go to walk to the campus, the particular host campus, and you have individuals who will talk about their experiences, more like a candlelight experience. If you can talk about the experiences that you think that have been highlighted over the years, that you think were very, very the ones which we, for all intents and purposes, that really strike you emotionally.
I believe you're correct about that. The rally. We also have a speak out where stories are told. There's a keynoter that speaks that evening. Others participate in terms of developing the program and having words of encouragement or speaking out on their own behalf or the behalf of others. We take and light a candle as a remembrance to those who are surviving it, those family members who also are supportive and they're survivors in some instances as well. And that walk through the streets of New Orleans and uptown New Orleans with chanting and letting our voices be heard for those who have suffered in silence and those who suffer sometimes publicly has been a moving inspiration for not only us who participate, but students that we bring to the forefront who are just discovering for the first time. Some students who speak out on their own, to speak out and share their stories that they haven't shared before. And it's been fortunate for us that our sister institution, Loyola University, has been the catalyst for which we were able to still hold the reins tight to participate, because it's through the Women's Resource Center that we were able to do this great work in the beginning.
Your experiences that you like to highlight, Dr. Williams.
I think the walking through the campus, sitting in a horseshoe, having all college. There have been times when every college president in the city has been there.
Yeah.
And usually we have at least 1 to 2 of them come to help support us. That says a lot, that you take that time out to support your students and support us and to support this movement. So that is, to me, paramount in terms of the support we get.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned students, because they are at the core of what you do and what we do, should I say. But through the years, have you seen a change in the student profile or student activities? And I'll start with you, Ms. Dr. Williams. Have you seen an evolution, or more than evolution? What has been different, if anything, regarding the student profiles that participate with Take Back the Night?
I think that student profiles who participate tend to be more open.
Okay.
They're eager, and they want to share their stories. When we first started, it was a little difficult because sometimes students didn't really want to talk about what it was. Now you can always find a student who say, you know what, I'm going to talk about this issue because I don't want anyone to go through what I've gone through. And I need to let them know this is what is available to you to help you get through whatever has happened to you.
Yes.
For me, it's been the evolution of students and their participatory roles as it relates to activities on campus. Dr. Courtney Williams, who is now our Dean and Chief Student Affairs Officer, has been very involved, previously worked at Loyola as well, and has jumped on the bandwagon as we have poetry slams. We have activities where students can speak out in a comfortable, safe environment at Dillard or share a story of a friend. They plan activities. We do chalk on the walk, where we write out our messages and chalk on our sidewalks, which is kind of like a sacred piece for the Oaks at Dillard. But numerous activities that they come up with, candle in the dark with a glow stick, things that students feel more pronounced to do is more of what we need to do, because when they become a participant, observer, and actually enact what they're thinking, what their friends are thinking, I think the message gets closer and clearer to what it needs to be.
Talk
And it helps our profile.
about the gender relationships there with male, female, and how that's expressed in this activity.
When I started off with this movement, it was really geared toward women, and then as we started talking, we had more of a I want to say gender neutral kind of attitude about how we approach the whole notion of Take Back the Night. The men became to speak out, and then the pronouns became more pronounced.
Yeah.
And so as they started moving through the movement, people started saying, yeah, you're going through something too. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. You know what? This thing needs to be a little bit more than just women. It's sexual assault and violent crimes against not only men, but women as well. And so it just took off because it is happening. And we can no longer ignore that our men are being attacked, they're being abused just as much so as women, unfortunately, but it is the case. So let's deal with it. That's the way it is. And services like the New Orleans Family Justice Center has been at the forefront in terms of helping others to come forth and recognize, realize, and find out that there's an answer. And of course, there are other organizations too, national organizations like RAIN. There's monies available to us by the Department of Justice, of which we were successfully funded for some grants. And we have one now at Dillard, of which Dr. Sean Gibbs, who's our coordinator of psychology, Dr. Sonia Cooper, as well as Mrs. Octavia Edberg, who's in social work. So those are the psychologists, and Ms. Edberg is the social worker. So that's good. We're coming to full fold in terms of what we need to do to help our constituency.
Well, and that's why I wanted to highlight that, because I wanted to come from the professional. And exactly, that's been my observation. And are your observations similar?
It's similar because we've gone across the disciplines because I'm in public health. So I'm always pushing what's the next step? What are the services available in the public health arena? What is the mental health community doing? And stop trying to stay on the forefront of the newest trends and because things change, people leave, but you need to know where the services are and who is providing those services.
Well, again, I like that segue because the mental health aspect of it is important because I don't know if it's collateral damage, but we cannot escape the fact that it becomes both of you come from that field. But to understand that the mental health aspect of it is important, and it's something which has to be highlighted. But from my view, I would think that once one has been impacted by something like that, are they forever? Is that a forever remedy?
Let's talk about
Yes.
it from the standpoint
Yes.
of a political scientist's view,
Okay.
because that's you and that's your arena. And you can see the political landscape, even what's happening with our presidential election in terms of the back and forth and where funding will be placed, where funding will not. And one time, the Justice Department Department of Justice for Violent Crimes Against Women wasn't being funded as much. Now it is. So it goes back. This is like a cyclical tug of war. But we have to keep pushing and keep striving to make sure that the voices are heard, so that the folks who need this service the most will be able to recognize and be able to make a call. If you get a call in the middle of the night and someone says, "I can't come to class. I have to drop everything. I'm on the run."
Yeah.
You get that call, and you have to do everything you can to try to support that student or support that person. It could be faculty, could be staff, whomever. We never turn anyone away. But it is that notion of whether or not the political strata remains the same in terms of providing those services, the monies that will be able to assist them.
Well, and the way it works from a political perspective,
Please share.
is that the reality is that it's rooted in your advocates, and which is all of life is rooted in the type of advocates that you have for whatever your program may be. Whether if and in particular those individuals who may have mental health issues, if you're a child who basically have no voice in America, but if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. But children have to have advocates. Those who are senior citizens who may not be able to speak for themselves need an advocate. And again, with mental health, the individuals who suffer from mental health issues, they have to have an advocate. And advocacy, in the final analysis, is based on the power of the other advocates you're dealing with, the vote, and more so than that, and you're looking at the purse. Now, how many is there enough funding out there under the Reagan administration? That was not the key. That was the key, which is why you saw so many homelessness.
Because the doors
Because they closed the doors.
Yes, it is, and they let them out.
And send them. Well, you see, we let them out. They send them home.
Yes.
But when you send individuals home,
They don't have the services.
The services are not there, and then eventually their house cannot contain them, and they end up walking the streets, leaving the home, and not taking the medication. All those kind of things become part of that.
Important.
And then and of course and then the next question is, do you go to jail or do you go to the mental health facility? Then that becomes a product of race, class, and ethnicity. You see, do we want to put African Americans in jail? Do we want to send them into a mental health facility?
But do we have a mental health facility to send
the
them
ones
to?
the ones that do, and then the ones that exist, are they subpar? And what kind of standard are they with? And which is why in many cases individuals have to go to private facilities, and which we know are highly expensive. And so, but I like what you're doing, and I like the work that you do, and because you have your boots on the ground. And from my perspective, I want to know how what you're doing, because things change. And so I'd like to know, how is this being received, Take Back the Night, being received by the administration, at the university, and also in the governmental community? Because before, you found always in the past, you and this is an election year as well, so how is it? I would think that this would be a highlight, yes.
I would say that it has become,
Okay.
even to the extent to which when students come to Dillon and they talk about programs, they start talking about Take Back the Night. And what was so interesting, Dr. Clark, was that one of the students, Dr. Courtney Williams, who I mentioned earlier, said the student said, "Well, I like to major in that to help people." And isn't that something that they can think that this could be a major in terms of the
Yeah.
numerous amount of activities that we have associated with it? Also, Dr. Williams partnered with me with my class when we did an undergraduate research day, many days,
Yeah.
that we centered on some topic or theme that was in affiliation with this particular Take Back the Night. It was sexual assault, it was mental health awareness, it was several topics that basically related to that. And students were able to do their research, pass the IRB board in terms of the human subjects, and actually present that work before the bodies at Loyola and Tulane University and Dillard as well. And I think that was a monumental movement relative to that. Sometimes you have to gear away from it,
Yeah.
because it could get a bit overwhelming, too much for a person to talk about sexual assault and violent crimes all the time. So now I've moved the thing to what makes you happy. Let's talk about what makes you happy. And then they have a list that they can pick from and then expound upon that, so that that may be that piece that will bring it to the forefront.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
I like that. What makes you happy, and also and able to be able to deal with your stress. In the final minute, so that we do have, can both of you please tell us how you can be reached and your definitive statement that you want our listening audience to know, Dr. Williams? Yes.
I would like to invite everyone out in the audience to come out on the 22nd
Second, to be confirmed.
to be confirmed at Loyola University in the Hartrue from 5 to 7 to join us as we speak out and as we begin to take back the night. And I say this because I know that people have time. It's always good to put the word out. And if you come, you bring someone. We ask everyone to bring someone so we can have every student who comes bring another student
Or friend.
or a friend.
Okay, each one bring
Bring
one.
one.
Necessarily, they do not necessarily have to be
Yeah.
part of the university.
University,
community.
right.
Okay.
Just bring one.
Yes.
We're appreciative for this time that you've given us, Dr. Clark. Thank you for this opportunity to again talk about Take Back the Night. Please participate. Go out and do something positive. Make a difference in someone's life that's positive. And if you hear something, make sure you say something, because sometimes not saying anything, the silence is what kills.
Okay, and also in the final minutes that we do have, I like what you're saying, but the one prevalent issue that you're confronted with that students bring up in terms of a personal issue.
I would say we've been hampered by the pandemic.
Okay.
We've been
Oh,
hampered by COVID-19. Please know that some people suffer in silence, but please know that sometimes they've been locked up with the perpetrator. And those are some deep issues that are now surfacing that we have to work through, work with, and heal.
That's something that only a professional would recognize that. And I'm locked up with the perpetrator during this particular period. I say only, hey, let me put it this way. The professional will recognize that quickly. Yes.
Yes.
And
And
yes.
from a public health perspective, we know that there are some services out there, but we need more. And we push that people seek services and seek confidants that they can share and get the help they need.
Do you recommend that this be available on a graduate level? Because we talked earlier about the fact that maybe you could look at this, but this is an area that I think that one can engage in graduate pursuit to understand, Take Back the Night, and to put it in some sort of curriculum. Do you see that developing?
Well, I have plans for, we
Okay.
talked about it, because you're in the School of Social Sciences too, Dr. Clark. We looked at ways in which we can incorporate a special topics course. Even the semantics of how do you go about setting up a rally in a march to be able to deal with those issues that you feel might violate someone's civil rights. So there are some possibilities. I've built it into my undergraduate resource course, and we talk about it, but more on a formidable basis relative to that. And we have some courses at Dillard in the psychology department that directly relate to this issue as well.
Yes, and public health.
In public health, I guess the big thing is because I am the internship coordinator, I try to help students to seek internships that will help them to see and seek their interests. So if you're interested in mental health, I try to place you somewhere as a coordinator of internships where you can actually see, is this what you really want to do? This is how this is operate, which gives students a greater knowledge of what's going on in the field and how the field is helps to support them.
Okay, and I would imagine as well that for interns, that you have to really be trained before they engage in that,
Yes.
because they just can't, you just can't take a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old and just say, all
That's
right,
right.
this is
Right.
what,
No,
no.
and the internship is a senior level course, so it's never for. And they have had training, and they have gone through. They have been vetted, because I just can't send you any place.
And you have the National Sexual Assault Hotline, Service of RAIN, and the online chat hotline, the Spanish online chat hotline. The telephone number is 800-1-800-656-HOPE, 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 4673. The National Helpline for Male Survivors, a service of 1 in 6. 1 in 6. Oh man, it's amazing. And again, I want to thank both of you for joining me. It's been outstanding. You're a perfect guest, and you bring a lot to the table. And you're going to come again soon, will you not? We just can't just wait for it once a year, but there are other issues I know which become important throughout the year. Is that okay?
Thank you for your advocacy, Dr. Clark.
Thank you
Oh,
very
thank
much.
you.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
but you're not only good colleagues, you're good friends. And yes, it is. So
yes.
that works at the same time. And good and outstanding professionals. And again, this is Dr. Clark's 101, The Living Classroom. You can find me on all platforms of social media. And as always, it's been a pleasure.